Hello and welcome to Warcraft Daily for today, the 29th of November 2013. So in today's news we have the new store, or at least some updates to it in the PTR, some blue tweets, well really just one, but it's a very interesting one, a few questions, and then I'll talk about Black Friday, just ramble for a bit. Anyway, first of all, the new store, this is all stuff that I filmed in, live in the PTR, so I will cut to that. Alright, so here we are in the PTR, and well, the store has had a minor update in that they've added all of the different pets and mounts. So what happens is you get a little 3D preview thing. I think you can maximize it. So that's kind of cool, I suppose. And basically, yeah, you can buy these. I'm going to assume it'll be the same price as it is on your regional store. And I guess they'll just go straight to your mail, like things usually do. So, yeah, if I just show you. Yeah, okay, I thought there was pets in there, but there isn't. Essentially, the stuff will just appear in your mail like any other pet. You can buy them. In terms of what happens when you try to buy them, of course, because this is the PTR, there's no payment method in. But you click that, you click OK, and it will deduct it from your PayPal or your Battle.net balance or something like that. So, I mean, yeah, it is what it is, I suppose. I've noticed they don't have the Enchanted Fey Dragon in here. That's interesting. In terms of consumables, all that stuff's the same. So yeah, you've all seen that before, and they're also going to be selling another thing. It's 50 lesser charms of lesser, charms of lesser fortune, whatever. They're going to be selling those in stacks of 50. I'm not too sure how much any of this shit's going to cost. Well, pets and mounts we know, but the consumables, no idea. Now it does, as an example, this is 2.38 XTS and these are 1. Now that does not mean that these things will be twice the price of a pet or mount. This is all just placeholder bullshit at the minute. So yeah, I don't know, what do you think about this? It is very integrated into the game, and it is going to be very easy to purchase these things. Now it's probably worth mentioning this is the Korean PTR. So, well, despite everything being in English, it is the Korean PTR. And while it's okay, obviously pets and mounts could come to the EU and the US, but as a feature of the store, well, these consumables and things, they said they weren't sure if these were coming to America and Europe, so it's hard to know what version of the store we'll get, if we even get a version of the store. Anyway, let's cut back to the main video. Okay, so we're back, and let's move on to tweets. First of all, Celestine talked about one of the level 100 Prot warrior talents. Now, don't worry, I'm going to bring this back to something that applies to more than just warriors. So, it's a pretty cool talent, and what it does is it gives the tank a new stance, which is 20% increased damage, as well as a few other DPS increasing things, but it is at the expense of using defensive stance, meaning they don't really generate much threat or anything like that. Now overall, I think this could be really interesting, especially in PvP, because traditionally in PvP tanks have really been, the tanks themselves have had fun, but the people playing against the tanks have never really had that much fun, and with this talent it makes the tanking spec more different flavour of DPS that's still sturdy, but perhaps not as high on DPS. So I wonder if something like this would happen to the other tank specs. That said, this does feel like a lot to put in a talent slot, but if it's, if at the end of the day it means there's better gameplay, then I think that's really okay. They also said that they think Sword and Board DPS is in general a cool idea. That's something I agree with completely, and they are a little bit concerned that it leaves less options for the true tanks. So yeah, I think this is really cool, and Sword of Board, I just think it has a sort of a cool feeling to it. Yeah, right now this is really the closest thing that they have to a 4th spec, and do I think there should be 4th specs in the game? No. The reason for that is because if every single class had an additional spec, it would mean there's really going to have to be some really contrived things just to make a 4th spec appear, and it might not be a fit with a lot of classes. It also probably wouldn't be as good for how specs should feel unique. They wouldn't really feel unique if you're adding in a 4th one. Maybe it's sort of trampling on the boundaries of some of the other specs, so that's an issue. And then finally, I think it would be a massive problem for class balance. Just the amount of load and workload that would put on Blizzard, ridiculous. That's more than adding a class. That is, how many classes do we have? 12, 13? Yeah, we have 13 classes, 12, something like that. That's like adding 3 classes worth of things to balance, just so that because they're different classes, they're all different things. I think it would be too much work, and it would be too damaging to both the PvE and PvP balance. So yeah, that's how I think it should be. Now next, let's move on to a few questions. The first one is from Drill Sergeant 515, and he says, do you think we will possibly see Gruul the Dragon Killer in Warlords of Draenor? And to that I say, yes, hopefully. So Gruul has been about for a very long time, and he's the leader of the Gron. Now the thing is though, in Warlords of Draenor, the Gruul, or the Gron, even the Gron, they seem to be subjugated by the Iron Horde. We've seen in the trailer that there's a lot of Gron that have been, I know, that at least they're taking orders from the orcs, and they have massive cannons strapped to their backs. So I'd say either one or two things have happened. They've imprisoned Gruul or captured him and then taken over the Gron. That's one thing the Iron Horde could have done. And then another thing is that Gruul has decided to, I suppose, make an alliance, a pact, with the Iron Horde, in which case he can lend his guys as extremely powerful troops, and maybe he can get a slice of the action and the power. Now that said, the orcs and the ogre/Gron, never really great friends, so I think perhaps it's more of a conquest thing. Maybe there's some magic coming in there, like mind controller stuff, either from Gul'dan and the sort of stuff he can do, or from Garrosh bringing new tech, you know, like back in time with him. It's hard to know, but Gron's pretty, you know, or Gruul even, is he? He's an interesting character, so yeah, I think there's definitely space for him. He was around at this time, and he would make a decent villain, I suppose, although I really hope we don't fight him as like a tier boss or anything like that. Maybe if he just happens to be one of the bosses in his zone, like saying he's chilling out in High Mall, and while we're in High Mall we kill him, but I don't want him to be his own raid instance, because we've done that before, and I just think there's more interesting things they can do. Next question is from Jez Evans, and he or she, I don't know, one of the two, says, what prompts the Iron Horde to build their End of the Red portal? In the original timeline, it was Medivh directing Gul'dan, I think, and yeah, but we're led to believe that this new timeline starts before the Demon Blood and all that. So what do you think? Is this just another gap in the continuity they were expected to look over? And this is a good question. This happens before the First War, before the opening of the Dark Portal, I would assume. So that means, where the hell, you know, in this 35 years ago, I get it, they can make our side of the portal turn red and do the time traveling thing, but surely back 35 years ago, there is no corresponding other side of the Dark Portal. So you actually raise a really, really good point. Yeah, it does seem like a bit of a gap in continuity in the minute. I'm sure there will be a contrived lore reason for an example, let's just see. Actually, no, Karazhan. So you know the way we've been talking about Karazhan and the way Prince Malchezaar said, I think it's something like all times, all dimensions, realities, whatever, are open to me? Well, perhaps through some tomfoolery up on the top of that tower, Kairos Dormu will be able to make an equivalent thingy appear in, yeah, well, so we could be able to do that. But also, the way that he's realigning, or sort of jangling up the Dark Portal, is that he's making it travel through both time and space, all that stuff. So, if it is a wormhole, let's just say it's a wormhole, okay? And he makes it so that the end of that wormhole opens somewhere else, then I suppose technically wouldn't that be just like a wormhole or something like that, just like opening on Draenor? And okay, there would be no surrounding portal, but the actual energy bit inside it, not the energy, you know, the actual portal element of it, not just the architecture around it. Maybe that would appear in Draenor. That said, of course, for aesthetic reasons, I'm sure they're going to make the portal, like, be a full-on portal that looks cool. But yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. Perhaps they will have a way of getting around this, I guess. It is, of course, also possible that Garrosh is able to contact one of them, and through that, get the other side of the Dark Portal made so that Kairos Dormu can align it. But yeah, it's hard to know what actually will happen. And finally, let's talk about Black Friday, and this is not usually the thing I like to talk about here, but there's really hardly any news, and it's a thing that's happening, and I've got some upgrades which should positively affect the channel. First of all, if you have any cool deals or you found any cool stuff, then hey, stick it in the chat. Let's see what people manage to pick up. So yeah, thank you America for your rampant consumerism. You have brought me cheap things. I managed to get a second GTX 670. And that means I can run that with the current one that I have in SLI, which means that in terms of, for games basically, in terms of graphical power, I have more than a 780 Ti. I can run shit like Battlefield 3 across 3 monitors, which is crazy. I don't have 3 monitors though, but you know what, that might be one of the upgrades that comes. So in terms of what that does for the video work, well, it means I can, first of all, it means I can run games at, most games at 120 frames a second, which is nice because I have a 144 FPS monitor, or hertz monitor. And one thing about the 144 hertz, a lot of people say, oh, you can't tell the difference, blah, blah, blah. What I will say is that if you're an experienced gamer, you will absolutely tell the difference. I was blown away the first time I turned on my, started playing Team Fortress 2 on 144 hertz. It was so smooth. And I actually found I was much more accurate because of it. But anyway, what does this new graphics card mean for the video editing? Well, what I do know is that Adobe Premiere Pro CC, which is the Creative Cloud Edition, it's like, well, it seems to be, it's more updated than Premiere Pro 6 anyway, so it seems to be the best version, and it now supports SLI for their, what's it called, Mercury Playback Engine, which uses the CUDA cores of your graphics card to help you render things. So I don't really think it will help much with that, but theoretically it might be able to improve my rendering times a little bit, so that should help get videos out. Although the main thing I need to do to improve those rendering times is, the main thing I need to do is getting like 1 or 2 more hard drives. That way I can be writing, when I'm making a video, I can be rendering it to one hard drive and then pulling files to from another hard drive, and then using another one as a scratch disk. So yeah, stuff like that. Now the other thing I got's probably going to have a more direct impact on the channel, and this was one of the, oh, I should probably say also the 670 that I got was for £169. Now for the American people, that's probably not crazy, but I think with a lot of tech you need to realize stuff is way more expensive over here and than it is for you guys, so 160 is just awesome. But thank you to America, or more specifically American Amazon. I was able to get an Audio-Technica ATH-M50, which is a studio monitor headset, and the nice thing about it is that it's got a very flat audio signature. Now, initially that might, wait, flat? What? That doesn't sound like a selling point. Well, it is, because a lot of things like your Beats and your Streets and your Skull Candies and all those kind of fashion headphones and stuff is that they have bass that's so strong it muddies everything and just ruins it. Now these are studio monitor headphones, the ones that I'm getting, and what that means is that when I'm listening back to any of my recordings or things like that, that I'll be able to hear my own voice basically exactly as how it's being recorded. The microphone will reproduce sounds nearly perfectly, and it won't be, upping the bass or anything like that. So this essentially means that when I'm mixing audio and things like that, I should be able to achieve slightly better levels and various things like that, so hopefully it will let me sort of deliver a better audio experience to you, crowd. The reason I'm going over this as well is because a lot of people like to ask about my setup and my tech things. You can see my computer's spec in the channel description, and I know it seems like a lot of money, but it's my main hobby, so to me it just makes sense. So yeah, I mean, hey, that's that. If you got anything cool on Black Friday or anything like that, then let me know. And if you are an American and you were in Walmart and you saw a giant horde of zombie people trying to kill each other over some cheap piece of like plastic tat, then let me know, because I've seen pictures of that and it's damn hilarious. Anyway, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll see you next time.